Group has launched the Rallying Efforts to Accelerate Progress project. This move aims to address economic inequalities in Africa by tackling illicit financial flows. It will also power relations and imbalances at the intersection of income and wealth disparities and gender and social status. Transparency International says it is seeking to combat illicit financial flows in Africa through regional advocacy and the strengthening of social accountability. It is also pushing for greater access to public resources for vulnerable and marginalized groups. Let's now discuss this further with Robert Mwanyumba, Africa Regional Coordinator of Transparency International. He joins us via Zoom from Nairobi. Thank you very much, Mr. Mwanyumba, for joining us. Now, Transparency International has launched the Rallying Efforts to Accelerate Progress project. What motivated this initiative and what does it aim to achieve?
Well, thank you very much, Penina, for having me on the show. One thing that motivated us is that we noticed that there were mechanisms that facilitate illicit financial flows on the African continent. And what these do is they essentially enhance inequality and hinder development. What we wanted to do is make sure that we come up with strategies and programs that disrupt this illicit financial flows through making sure that we have stronger regional and global action that would curb illicit financial flows, tax evasion, tax avoidance, especially those that continue to undermine sustainable development in African countries.
Right. So let's talk about this illicit financial flows. Can you elaborate on how these flows contribute to economic disparities and what specific actions should be taken to address the situation?
Absolutely. I mean, more often than not, people think about illicit financial flows as an abstract concept. But let me give you a number. Illicit financial flows contribute to the loss of about $89 billion from the African continent annually. This is way more money than we receive in official development assistance. Now, illicit financial flows happen as a result of commercial transactions, criminal enterprise, and acts of corruption. What it does is that it robs a lot of countries from essential healthcare services, education, and infrastructure. What we have been seeing is that countries that have a high incidence of illicit financial flows actually ends up spending about 25% less on healthcare on average and about 50 or so percent less on education. This budgetary deficits continue to plunge African countries into a vicious cycle of high indebtedness, poor tax performance, and even poorer service delivery. Now, what we're trying to propose is that we needed the evidence to continue to advocate for tangible policy changes. And some of the evidence that we've been able to generate has demonstrated that for instance, both financial and non-financial professionals and businesses play a crucial role in facilitating illicit financial flows. So we wanted to increase things like transparency that would shed more light on how these practices are carried out, who is involved, and what is the impact that they have had. So for instance, one of our key demands is on beneficial ownership transparency, because we believe that if we are able to know who's involved in the transactions, we can be able to track the practice and to trace even assets that have been lost abroad and to be able to recover the same.
Right. So I was just going earlier through RIP, this new project, and gender and social status just appear to be significant factors in economic disparities. Talk to us about how RIP addresses these aspects.
So it was important for us to situate the conversation into a real life and an everyday experience, because one of the things that happens when you have shortfalls in your domestic revenue mobilization is that you don't get enough services being delivered within your populace. And what that has done is that you have had a two-tier system of services. So either those that can afford and those that can't afford, and even those that can afford, the discrepancy is based on different quality of service that is delivered. Now, in addition, we've seen that, so this, for instance, would have a direct impact on, women who are trying to access healthcare services in different health facilities. And this tends to stand out. But I think it's more than the physical infrastructure. So more often than not, when you have things like your budget deficits and when you're not raising enough revenues, what happens is that either governments tend to take on more aggressive tax policies or what we call regressive policies, which then undermine things like your disposable income and then skew the burden of care work. So for instance, you will find that a certain household would mean that maybe the women in that household would end up spending a bit more time on taking care of children, cleaning the house and things like that, rather than being engaged directly in economic, other productive sectors of the economy without necessarily compromising their ability to earn resources. So we are keen on demonstrating that illicit financial flows is not just an alien concept, but it is a concept that has real consequences on the lives of people within the African continent.
Oh, I thank you very much for that, Mr. Robert Monyumba.